Okay, getting into the second season preview. Staying in the Central Division, we're going to do all the Centrals first, is the Florida Panthers. A team that went through a lot of changes in the offseason. Some of them seem like they were years ago. I thought it was ages ago since they traded for Hornquist, but then realizing, oh no, that happened this offseason. So that's pretty crazy in itself that's all transpired. But yeah, a lot to run through with this team. Could be slightly exciting. I like some of the moves that they've done, but we'll get through it. So here are all the outs. So this is everyone that has left the team since last season. Now, last season ended with them losing to the Islanders in that play-in round thing, which no real shame in that. Like, the Islanders went deep. They had a really good playoff system, but the fact that it's the same thing all over again. It's this team and their core. They have very talented players. Hubdow and Barkov are some of the best players in this league. But they struggle at that last bit. They struggle in those games that would be the difference between them making playoffs and them not. And just having those big time moments, and they struggle. They struggled in this scenario. They've struggled in the playoffs for a long time. They haven't won a round since '96 when they made it to the Cup final. So it has been a very long time since they've done very well. And they remind me a lot of Arizona in the fact that, like, there's not a huge amount of fans because there isn't a long amount of success. Now, they have had individual player success, which they do have over Arizona, and the fact that Arizona's had one 30-goal scorer since the lockout, which is just, that's a stat. But, yeah, with Florida, they're entertaining, but they haven't gone on a deep playoff run to kind of encapsulate everything in the town. Also, the arena's not in the best location. There's a few other things, but we'll run through all that now. So some of the big outs are Hoffman, of course. He's off to the Blues on that PTO. That's clearly a contract. Matheson, he went to the Penguins in a trade. Dadonov, he's now at the Ottawa Senators, another team that kind of is a bit similar. The fact that there has not been prolonged success, although they did go to the conference final, Senators, but that was like a one-time thing. Skeevia, Howler, Boyle, there's a fair few players in there that they've missed out on. Now, some of them are addition by subtraction, not having them in, having some youth to come up. But that's a lot of names that have come out of a lineup. And here's why I'm not worried about any of that. Like, there's a lot of goals that need to be replaced, but here's why I'm not worried. Now, they recently signed Duclair, which I think is a really good deal. It does give them a little bit more impact up and down the lineup, and Duclair, I think, will do well in this system. You can't go by that year in Columbus. It just wasn't. Both parties couldn't get the best out of him. I think that's the best way to say it. It just didn't work out. And that's fine. That happens sometimes. We've all had jobs where just things don't line up and you don't get along with your boss, but other people do. Hornquist as well, I think, adds a huge amount to this lineup. And getting out of that Matheson contract's pretty big as well. But bringing in Hornquist, and yeah, he's not going to play all year. He's injury prone. He's older now. There are those downsides. But he offers something that the rest of the team don't have. And it is that grit to stay in front of a net and just piss off a whole team, but still play at a highish level. And there's a lot of players that don't really have that. So I think that's going to be such a big impact on this team, especially when they go deep. And it might be the difference between being able to tip in a goal. That would have been a game that would go to overtime that they would lose or lose in the third period. So I think that's going to be a huge impact. But probably one of the biggest changes in this team is Radko Gudas. I think having a player like him just within the lineup, you can sub Matheson out for Gudas. You really can. And the everything that he brings, intimidation factor, yeah, he's probably going to get suspended this year. But the intimidation factor and everything that he brings on the defense is such a big add. And that was the thing that they really struggled with last year was defense. They were 28th in goals against. They were, I think, the 20th in PK. So, and he would go on the PK as well. So those are some factors here. And yeah, Bobrovsky did not have a great year, but it wasn't just his fault. And everyone, people that didn't watch a lot of Florida games, and I watched a fair few last year. I probably watched like 10 to 15, I'd say. So you get a good sample size from 10 to 15, like full games. Is that, yeah, he would let in some dud goals, but also there'll be sometimes that he was just left out to burn. And it was just, he could never get any rhythm going in the season, I feel like, because it was sometimes that it would be his fault, and then when he kind of was on, the defense wouldn't be, and that would hurt him. So I feel like some of the additions that they've made on D, I'd like them to make another one, and that could really help. Wenberg coming in as a center as well definitely flushes out the lineup and just gives them more flexibility to go up and down. And if the top line, which does happen, especially as we saw it in the playing around when they go missing, they have other scoring options. They have more depth. For Hagee, I think it's a really good option as well, and hopefully he finds a good home with a 2-year contract. I feel like there's a player now that's not going to bounce around as much. So I really feel like they've overall made a better lineup than they did last year, even though with those omissions. They also have Owen Tippett. Looks like he'll come into the league. He turned pro last year. Well, was always going to, but he moved to the AHL. He's pretty much point of game there, and all signs indicate that he'll be in this team. Then there is Danisco. I'm not sure if he's ready actually for the NHL. There's a lot of hype around him. I think there's a very good player there, and if you are a Florida fan, don't at me being like, oh, you're slouching him. He didn't have the best KHL season last year. I know points are hard to come by in KHL, but getting some advice from some people that watch those games is that he was a little bit too small for that league, and I think he's going to have the same problem in the NHL. I think in 2 or 3 years, this guy's going to be an absolute stud. He did very well in junior last year, but it's a new step up when you go into the NHL. But Bobrovsky is the big key in all of this. They've definitely fixed their lineups. Again, I'd like one more defender. I mean, I would have loved it if they could have got Travis Hamonic. I think that would have fixed a lot of problems. They can't. And I do like the fact that a lot of years they've gone out in free agency and made some pretty big mistakes. That's been the real issue for this team the last 10 years. They haven't done that. They've been smart and they've been patient. They did very well in the draft as well with Lindell. But Bobrovsky is the key here. There's no backup. There's no real backup for them. So he needs to be lights out. He needs to be able to steal them games. That's the way the defense is built. They need to be better in front of him. And I think the forwards too, I like the forwards that are in front of him as well. Got another year of Quenneville. I do think that there's a lot to like in this team. A lot of people are saying they're going to be 6th or 7th in the division. Obviously, they're with the Red Wings and the Blackhawks, who are just going to be terrible in the Central. Because nothing's more central than Florida, right? Tampa Bay's there as well. But then you've got the real hot, heavy monsters in this division, like your Dallas, your Tampa Bay. It's Nashville. It's pretty all over the shop and where everything is. But I think they're going to do better than what a lot of people are saying. I think they've rounded out a lot of their systems. And I did fall for this team for the last 2 years. This has been a team that I was like, on paper, it looks like a team that should make playoffs. And then really you should look at that lineup and be like, their defense is up to scratch. I still still don't think it is, but I do like the fact that they've made better decisions forwards-wise that can help out the defense to play a different system. So I'm a little bit more in on this team than not. So yeah, but I do think it's going to be much the same for Florida fans. I think this team's going to be on the outside looking in. I think there's a chance they can get in the playoffs. I think they could be that 4th spot. My opinion on the top 3 is going to be Dallas, Tampa Bay. Dallas, as long as they can get good goaltending from everyone, I think they're definitely a playoffs team. So as long as they don't have a huge hangover from what happened last year, I think they're okay. Even with Ben and Sagan not scoring for prolonged periods of time, they still did well in the season. Tampa Bay, it's Tampa Bay. They're going to get in. The other team is Nashville. They're not going to have the goaltending woes that they had last year, so I look at them to get in. And then it's really between Carolina's goaltending. It's really the goaltending battle. Carolina's goaltending, although their defense does solve a lot of those problems. And then I think it'll be Florida after that. They do have a chance if one of those teams above them do drop the ball, have an off month, which can happen in this shortened season. I do think they can get into the playoffs. I do think they're better than the Columbus Blue Jackets. It'll be interesting to see how their goalies go on another rebound year. They had to do a lot last year, and I think you just can't do that over a prolonged period of time. Although they have some great players, they did get rid of a few players as well. So yeah, I think that they may regress a little bit. But yeah, I'm hoping they get in. I really do, because I think that this is a team that if they get in, they can surprise some people. Especially if they can make a defensive move or something like that. If they do add another defender, then this conversation changes a fair bit. If they add another top 4 defenseman, I think that this conversation changes, and you would start to be like, okay, they can probably get in, especially if a team does drop the ball a little bit, then get in. But yeah, that's where I think it's all going to be at. So yeah, here's hoping that the core don't go missing for little periods throughout the year. I do find that a lot of their forwards can be quite streaky. I just think it's a well-balanced lineup. You may not get the success this year, but next year when obviously you're not in this hell division, I think that's when some success will come. Especially I think Boston have one more year left, and then they're going to drop off. So there's definitely teams to catch up on. So yeah, I like where Florida's positioned right now. I like what they're doing to move forward. they're just not quite there yet, and yeah. But I'm hoping. This is a team that I'm kind of. I say here, you know, around the 5th, sort of 6th mark here. Like, I really want them to do well this year. It would be such a great story if they could win a playoff round and just throw that monkey off their back, get some more fans in this arena. They do have a historic, like, they do have a tradition. Like, they have traditions. That they have the rats. They have everything. Like, they have everything that a hockey team needs to be successful. Obviously, like location, a few other things don't ring a bell. But if they can just build a bit more of a dynasty, even if it's just a team that makes the playoffs and just has a small amount of success, they don't have to win a cup. I think you'll start to see things turn around here, where there's some franchises I think are beyond hope, and this is not one. Anyway, guys, if you did like this video, hit the like button. If you made it all this way through and haven't hit subscribe yet, please do so. It really does help us out. So. Obviously doing all of the teams before the season starts. We'll do probably 3 more tomorrow, and then we'll just run through 3 a day until the season starts. I wanted to hold off towards the end, just so if a team made a big deal, or there's obviously a few things out and about, I just didn't want things to get screwed up there. So yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below, what do you think of this team? If I put them too high at 5th, I think there's some people that are going to think that's a bit high, but I feel like I justified my reasoning, right? Like, you can see how I got there. I mean, wrongly, but you can see how I got there. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. See you